You are about to receive one more tool for your flight bag. In fact, this is a power tool, a tool that will give you the power to use all the available resources to complete your cross-country safely. Of course, the FAA has a fancy name for it. They call it Cockpit or Crew Resource Management, CRM for short. And your resources include your avionics systems, maybe including an autopilot, operating manuals, and people, from passengers to air traffic controllers. Okay, now, first things first. When you get in the airplane, check to see that you have the checklists and the pilot's operating handbook or owner's manual, and make sure they're easily reachable when you need them. If you have to troubleshoot a system in flight, the POH will answer a lot of questions for you. And the checklists will guide you through whatever steps you need to follow. Quickly review all the instruments, controls, and avionics in your airplane and make sure you know how to use them. Different Skyhawks can have different instruments and radio packages in them. If you have any questions, the POH should answer most of them. But if it doesn't, use Crew Resource Management. Just ask your flight instructor. If you organize your charts on your clipboard in the order you plan to use them, they'll be easy to find when you need them. And when you're finished with one, refold it and put it where it won't be in your way, but where you can reach it easily if you need it again. Many pilots keep charts they've used but are finished with in the left-hand side pocket. You may be carrying charts that border the ones you need. And you know, that's a good idea in case you have to deviate to an airport not on your current chart. If so, again, put them somewhere where they won't be in your way but can be reached easily if you need them. The right-hand side pocket is one good place. Pilots on solo flights often put their whole flight bag in the right seat, secured with the seatbelt, so it doesn't fly around if they hit turbulence. That gives you lots of pockets and storage areas readily at hand. After you've completed your run-up, you can use your radios and instruments to remind you of where you want to go and who you want to talk to. You can set the main frequency on the number 1 comm to the tower, or CTAF, and the standby frequency to departure, or the local FSS. This way, you only have to touch the flip-flop button to talk to the right people, and you can continue to scan for traffic after takeoff. If you need to talk to more than 2 people during departure, you can set up more frequencies on the number 2 comm. That gives you a total of 4 frequencies already preset. While en route, you can tune 1 comm into a flight following frequency for traffic information and monitor Flight Watch or an ATIS for weather information on the other. We'll cover Flight Following and Flight Watch in detail soon. If you are using Flight Following, you'll want to turn down the volume a little on the other radio so you can hear the controller on Flight Following better. By listening to the local weather and to other pilots, you can keep an ear out for any changes that might affect your flight long before they actually do. On your nav radios, you can tune in the first VOR frequency you'll be using on the number 1 nav and the second on the number 2. And you can go ahead and set the courses that you'll be using in your OBS indicators. With all this done before takeoff, you can concentrate on flying the airplane, not hunting for frequencies and fiddling with radios. By the way, a good way to remind yourself of the course to your first checkpoint is to set the heading bug on your heading indicator to it. And don't forget your GPS. If you're not using it in flight plan mode, go ahead and set it on your destination airport. That way, during the flight, it will give you a continual readout of your ground speed and the distance and time to your destination. You've probably heard the saying, "Let George do it." Well, George in this case is the autopilot. It can be almost as good as having another pilot in the airplane with you. If the airplane you're flying has an autopilot, ask your instructor to show you how it works. Consider it a valuable resource after you have your private pilot license and have your basic flying skills down. An autopilot can reduce your workload. It figuratively gives you another pair of hands when you want to check weather over the radio, write down an ATIS, work with your navigation log, or refold a chart. It's also great for when you're trying to find that chart that just blew into the back seat. You might not realize it, but your engine gauges are also part of your cockpit resources. While you're en route, if you scan the engine gauges regularly, you might pick up any changes in your engine indications early enough to head off any serious problems before they happen. This leads to another element of CRM that you might not think of at first: communication. If you do need to talk with someone and you have an urgent situation, make sure you convey that urgency. It's all right to remain calm, but if the engine is hanging down in front like the snout of an anteater and the tail surfaces are trying to swap ends with it, you don't want to casually say, New York Center, we got a little problem here. Let them know what you need to do to prevent an emergency and be sure they understand. So, as you can see, cockpit resource management really is nothing more than using everything available to you to stay organized and ahead of the airplane, and of course, using your superior knowledge to avoid situations where you might have to use your superior flying skills.